All right. Speaker Mike Johnson just moved up a notch in my book, releasing all, or at least in the process of releasing all, the Capitol tapes from January 6th. And it turns out that January 6th wasn't worse than 9/11. It wasn't worse than Pearl Harbor.
Dates that occupy not only a place on our calendars, but a place in our collective memory. December 7th, 1941. September 11th, 2001. And January 6th, 2021.
So that's actually not true. It's not even close, actually. It wasn't a violent insurrection, and it looks like there was more and more cattywampus afoot than partisan, morally bankrupt January 6th committee led us to believe.
Well, we go undercover as Antifa in a crowd, so can you put that back in? All right, thank you so much. Yeah, it feels better. Did you guys get sprayed?
Well, also, here is one of the people arrested at the Capitol that apparently wasn't actually being arrested. They walked him to the door very nicely, took the cuffs off, fist bumped him, and let him go on his merry way. You know what's interesting, though, about that last exchange with him? Normally, when somebody is arrested, the first thing the cops do is they strip any face cover off the subject to identify him. Maybe take the helmet off, but they didn't do that. They left it on. Why? I got a few guesses myself. And we also still don't know how many people were undercover and why. It even appears that the FBI doesn't know either. Or at least they're maybe lying to us, or they just don't know. Either could be true. In fact, the chief of Capitol Police testified that he was also given no information on undercover agents and was advised not to respond to the January 6th.
We actually have evidence and records indicating plainclothes MPD officers were on Capitol grounds on January 6th. And you're saying you weren't aware that they would have embedded those officers within the crowd. They didn't make you aware of that?
No, sir, they did not make me aware of it. It's not unusual for agencies to have plainclothes units deployed around major events, but no, I was not made aware that they'd be on Capitol grounds.
Chief Son, since January 6, 2021, have you testified or been asked to testify publicly before a committee of the House of Representatives?
No, sir.
Did the January 6 Select Committee ask you to publicly testify before their committee?
No, sir.
Weird. The chief of the Capitol Police wasn't invited to speak before the January 6th committee? They also seem to fire some sort of either tear gas or smoke into the crowd that, from the looks of the video, which seems to be a pretty peaceful group with people standing there videotaping it. This begs the question, what came first, the tear gas or the pandemonium? Did one cause the other? We'll see. But I can tell you one thing. This level of force was not used again the other day against the pro-Hamas demonstrators or at the White House. It was unbelievable. So why was it used here at January 6th? The other thing we're now seeing from these videos is that it's very little confrontation with the police, if any, is shown. So far, there doesn't seem to be anything more than a respectful interaction with the fuzz, and the crowd turns around when they were asked to leave. The one spot of violence, the one spot, was Ashli Babbitt, who was the only one killed on that day, by the way, shot by the same Capitol police officer who is still employed and 2 years prior had left his gun unattended in a bathroom. Lieutenant Mike Byrd, this guy fired a weapon at an unarmed woman through a door with officers directly in his line of fire right behind him. I mean, as the video goes on, it appears that both law enforcement and the protesters worked together to attempt to save her life and evacuate her. From the video, which we won't show you because of how graphic it is, but it's freely available on the internet, and I encourage you to go watch it. The only ones yelling and swearing appear to be the police officers, not the protesters. We still haven't seen the other side of the footage from behind the shooter, whether or not confirmed lethal force was even actually needed. But from my vantage point, with a significant background in use of force, by the way, doesn't seem to meet the bar. I'm sure more will be made public in the coming days, though. But the real question is, why was this never released under McCarthy? What was he hiding? What deals did he make behind the scenes? Because if it was so simple that Mike Johnson could just release it in a matter of a few weeks after taking the speakership, why didn't McCarthy do it in his 9-month tenure? You see why I never trusted him? We know the Democrats were ardently opposed to releasing the full tapes, obviously, probably for the exact same reason we're seeing now. It destroys their narrative completely. And the lengths that they went to lie, they deceived, they misled us on all the reason those tapes shouldn't be released should be carved into everyone's memory as a monument to never trusting Democrats again.
Donald Trump participated in each substantially and personally. He oversaw or directed the activity of those involved.
I want to be very clear. Those who perform these reprehensible acts cannot be called protesters. No, these were rioters and insurrectionists, goons and thugs, domestic terrorists.
On January 6th, Trump knew the crowd was angry. He knew the crowd was armed. He sent them to the Capitol anyway. You might imagine that our founders would have been shocked to learn that an American president would one day come to embrace and excuse political violence against our own institutions, or knowingly send an armed mob to attack the Capitol to usurp the will of the people.
Jamie Raskin went on to say that we can't release the tapes because it'll expose, intricate workings and the schematics of the Capitol building. Nice try, Jamie. You can go online and see a map of the Capitol. Hell, you can schedule a tour of the halls yourself. It was all a ploy to make Trump out to be the bad guy in an attempt to keep him from running for the White House again. We're seeing this in multiple states where they're trying to get him off the ballot, using it as if he was convicted. He wasn't even charged. But they conveniently always leave this part out.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
There have been more than 1,069 defendants charged. Sure, some people did some really stupid stuff that day. Not discounting that. But not 1,000 people, but some. I've reviewed as much of this video as I can since they started releasing it, and all it has done is counter the left's narrative. But the one thing that is absent right now, more than anything, is the footage and proof that there were 1,000 people attempting an insurrection. Because if there was, all these left-leaning groups would have been putting it on the front page right now, but it's not. It was very clearly not an insurrection. And from what I expect from Mike Johnson, haul every member of the January 6th committee, the FBI, the Capitol Police, everyone in front of Congress under oath and find out what they knew and when they knew it. Juxtapose every second of testimony against these tapes and get to the actual truth. Because if we don't make an example out of all the bad actors, they're going to continue to wield the power of government who threw what is becoming increasingly apparent, innocent people in jail. And this has got to stop right now.